Hey everyone, welcome to Sauce, and welcome to back to The Witness. I wanted to take advantage of my moment in life to finish up this video series because the next video in the series will be number 42, and I have an affinity with that number, especially because of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference. Anyway, I have a few loose ends to tie up in The Witness, such as a few puzzles that I haven't gotten. As I recall, there were 523 puzzles total in the game. And I think the only puzzles I have missed out on are the puzzles in the cave in the middle of the map. Plus, I also wanted to do the rest of the audio logs. And to know where everything is, I'm gonna take advantage of this thing in the middle, which I may have described before as the map. But I don't know if I explained it fully. The general idea is that you have a representation of the world, the witness, the island in this here pool, lake, and everything on the lake surface represents a different thing. For example, those white lily pads represent the audio logs that you have found, and when they are open, that means you have listened to them at least once. I don't know if the size of the lily pad matters. It might, like the length of the audio, I don't know. These triangle leaves here, they represent the puzzles with the arrow symbol, the triangle symbol in them. And if you haven't done the puzzle, they will be lit up, like they will be glowing. Those fountains represent those laser machines that you have. That laser machine there, that's from the fountain. The fountain represents those. Those clamshells, those open up clams, they represent those puzzles that open up the doors that unlock a video sequence in that one movie theater area. And I don't really remember what the yellow lily pads and those light fixtures represent, but they represent something as well. And to have a grasp on where exactly, from where you have to look at this lake to see what's what's what, you have to compare it. Well, you can compare it to the map in the boat, for example, to have a grasp on it. This part here is the start. Like this part here is the first area in the game. So you can start. You can base yourself off of this. Basically, look at the shape of the pool, of the lake. And then let's just compare it to the map in the boat, and you can have an idea what's what and where you gotta go. Just look at the boat. Just gonna look at the boat real quick. So this is the starting area, the first area in the game, and that's the comparing to the shape of the lake. You get the idea of where you have to go to find stuff. And I want to do this in a single take. I will go over there. I will find the audio logs in different takes. Just gonna skip through the video and get the stuff done. And I will end the video on the last puzzles that I haven't completed yet. So that's good. That's gonna, I think, I will try to show the approach to each audio log as well, in case anyone wants to know where they are, but there are probably better sources to find out where they're from, where they are. And also to confirm I confirmed my original theory, and there are audio logs you have to go, like, take a certain path with the boat and stop it, and then look around, and the audio log is on a debris or like a wrecked boat or something else in the nearby area in the middle of the sea. But yeah, I'll see you on the on the next audio logs that I haven't, on the next audio log, on the audio logs that I haven't gotten yet, on the starting area to begin with. Okay, so it turns out I was actually mistaken about the water fountains. I could just re-record that segment, but let it be known that I own up to my mistakes. Like, come on. The lasers are represented by the lanterns, the yellow things, the lit lanterns on in the lake, and the water fountains actually represent the obelisks, those white totems that I lit up by completing all the environmental puzzles. That's what everything is. That is. Anyway, here's the one of the audio logs that I was missing. Go over here. Then you get on the battlements and you come around here. And then it's over here. Over there.
I am standing on the threshold about to enter a room. It is a complicated business. In the first place, I must shove against an atmosphere pressing with a force of 14 pounds on every square inch of my body. I must make sure of landing on a plank, traveling at 20 miles a second around the sun. A fraction of a second too early or too late, the plank would be miles away. I must do this whilst hanging from a round planet head outward into space and with a wind of ether blowing at no one knows how many miles a second through every interstice of my body. The plank has no solidity of substance. To step on it is like stepping on a swarm of flies. Shall I not slip through? No. If I make the venture, one of the flies hits me and gives me a boost up again. I fall again and am knocked upwards by another fly, and so on. I may hope that the net result will be that I remain about steady, but if, unfortunately, I should slip through the floor or be boosted too violently up to the ceiling, the occurrence would be not a violation of the laws of nature, but a rare coincidence. These are some of the minor difficulties. I ought really to look at the problem four-dimensionally as concerning the intersection of my world line with that of the plank. Then again, it is necessary to determine in which direction the entropy of the world is increasing in order to make sure that my passage over the threshold is an entrance, not an exit. Verily, it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a scientific man to pass through a door. And whether the door be barn door or church door, it might be wiser that he should consent to be an ordinary man and walk in, rather than wait till all the difficulties involved in a really scientific ingress are resolved. Arthur Eddington, 1927.
What? Basically, just that don't overcomplicate things, I guess. That's the thing I should take to heart. The other audio log is around here. There's a little sequence of puzzles here, and here is the log.
The physicist Wolfgang Pauli once spoke of two limiting conceptions, both of which have been extraordinarily fruitful in the history of human thought, although no genuine reality corresponds to them. At one extreme is the idea of an objective world, pursuing its regular course in space and time independently of any kind of observing subject. This has been the guiding image of modern science. At the other extreme is the idea of a subject, mystically experiencing the unity of the world and no longer confronted by an object or by any objective world. This has been the guiding image of Asian mysticism. Our thinking moves somewhere in the middle, between these two limiting conceptions. We should maintain the tension resulting from these two opposites. Werner Heisenberg, 1974.
Well, FPS drops aside, I don't know why I'm getting those. You can notice that the two lily pads that were closed and are open. And I honestly think I had something. I was onto something with the idea that the size of the flower, the plants holding the lily pad up, have something to do with the size, the duration of the audio, because that seems like an important. Because that seems related somehow. Anyway, the yellow lily pads refer to audio that is inside the caves. And I think I don't know, I think there were supposed to be some closed. Well, I thought there were. I don't know. I think there are. Anyway, off to the next one, I guess. Here's the next audio log inside this place near the laser machine, or this area. It's in here.
66 times have these eyes beheld the changing scene of autumn. I have said enough about moonlight. Ask no more. Only listen to the voice of pines and cedars when no wind stirs. Leonin, 1711.
Oh, okay. I guess it's a poem from some... Wait, that's a haiku, actually. I guess it fits because the name sounds kind of Japanese, I guess. So here's the next audio log, which is inside this place called the Keep, from what I understand. And this place was designed most likely designed to be like resistant against invasions and stuff. I'm just sitting here wondering who would invade this thing in an artificial island where nobody even lives. There's this creepy thing. It's still creepy to this day, and here's the audio log.
In the traditional view, a person is free. He is autonomous in the sense that his behavior is uncaused. That view, together with its associated practices, must be re-examined when a scientific analysis reveals unexpected controlling relations between behavior and environment. By questioning the control exercised by autonomous man and demonstrating the control exercised by the environment, a science of behavior also seems to question dignity or worth. A person is responsible for his behavior, not only in the sense that he may be justly blamed or punished when he behaves badly, but also in the sense that he is to be given credit and admired for his achievements. A scientific analysis shifts the credit as well as the blame to the environment, and traditional practices can then no longer be justified. These are sweeping changes, and those who are committed to traditional theories and practices naturally resist them. As the emphasis shifts to the environment, the individual seems to be exposed to a new kind of danger. Who is to construct the controlling environment, and to what end? Autonomous man presumably controls himself in accordance with a built-in set of values. He works for what he finds good. But what will the putative controller find good? And will it be good for those he controls? Answers to questions of this sort are said, of course, to call for value judgments. B.F. Skinner, 1971.
Is it the same Skinner as the guy who came up with the Skinner box theory? The same thing that keeps people playing MMORPGs to this day because of the whole controlled rewards thing. Oh well, that's pretty spooky. Here's a stylish gentleman or probably Secret Service. And the next audio log that we were looking for is actually hidden behind this guy here.
If a man, holding a belief which he was taught in childhood or persuaded of afterwards, keeps down and pushes away any doubts which arise about it in his mind, purposely avoids the reading of books and the company of men that call into question or discuss it, and regards as impious those questions which cannot easily be asked without disturbing it, the life of that man is one long sin against mankind. But, says one, I am a busy man. I have no time for the long course of study which would be necessary to make me in any degree a competent judge of certain questions, or even able to understand the nature of the arguments. Then he should have no time to believe. William K. Clifford, 1874.
That's actually kind of deep. Are you supposed to be able to put in the time to believe in stuff? Here comes the next audio log. unsurprisingly, we did have to do some boat rides to get to the next audio log. We can ride over here, and we will get to the audio log, and maybe another one in a right two in a row, more or less. Let me see if I can drive by, just like sail by the other one audio log on the way there, and then try to get the next one as well. And for the meanwhile, let's just enjoy the chill boat ride. That looks like a huge nose. Anyway, here's the next audio log.
Suppose a boat is crossing a river and another empty boat is about to collide with it. Even an irritable man would not lose his temper. But supposing there was someone in the second boat, then the occupant of the first would shout to him to keep clear, and if the other did not hear the first time, nor even when called 3 times, bad language would inevitably follow. In the first case, there was no anger. In the second, there was. Because in the first case, the boat was empty, and in the second, it was occupied. And so it is with man. If he could only roam empty through life, who would be able to injure him? Zhuangzi, 4th century BC.
Well, I have to say that I do not follow, because even when I'm alone or doing something that doesn't involve anyone else, I do still get mad and say bad language. And bad language, I mean bad language follows. Like, all the time. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with anyone else, but sure am a very angry person, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Oh damn, that is low. I don't think I got it. Hold on, let me just get it real quick. I didn't expect the mouse to move so slowly because I'm not used to the speed of this thing.
Lustily, I dipped my oars into the silent lake, and as I rose upon the stroke, my boat went heaving through the water like a swan. When, from behind that craggy steep, till then the horizon's bound, a huge peak, black and huge, as if with voluntary power instinct, upreared its head. I struck and struck again, and growing still in stature, the grim shape towered up between me and the stars. But after I had seen that spectacle, for many days my brain worked with a dim and undetermined sense of unknown modes of being. O'er my thoughts, there hung a darkness. Call it solitude, or blank desertion. William Wordsworth, 1888.
Well, those words were certainly worth Anyway, I'll be right back. And I'm back, and it turns out I did not get the thing I was looking at real quick just now. It turns out I did need to go get this right now. Look at this. Here it is.
God bade me behold the sea, and I saw the ship sinking and the planks floating. Then the planks too were submerged. And God said to me, "Those who voyage are not saved." And he said to me, "Those who, instead of voyaging, cast themselves into the sea, take a risk." And he said to me, "Those who voyage and take no risk shall perish." And he said to me, "In taking the risk, there is a part of salvation." And the wave came and lifted those beneath it and overran the shore. And he said to me, "The surface of the sea is a gleam that cannot be reached, and the bottom is a darkness impenetrable. And between the two are great fishes, which are to be feared." Nefari, circa 970.
That is... Oh, wait. Hold on.
What?
She just says what? Okay. I feel like I came in here from the wrong direction because I'm supposed to get to those green pads over there. I also don't remember if I already did those. Got the... audio log from over here, but I guess it's worth checking. This is it. I think this is the only one I can do solve in a different position, I guess. So I guess it would be something like this. No? Oh, okay. Crap. Hold on. It's like this.
When we choose silence, we choose to give up the reasons not to love, which are the reasons for going to war, or continuing war, or separating, or being a victim, or being right. In a moment of silence, in a moment of no thought, no mind, we choose to give those up. This is what my teacher invited me to. Just choose silence. Don't even choose love. Choose silence, and love is apparent. If we choose love, we already have an idea of what love is. But if you choose silence, that is the end of ideas. You are willing to have no idea, to see what is present when there is no idea, past, present, future. No idea of love, no idea of truth, no idea of you, no idea of me. Love is apparent. Gangaji, 2009.
Okay. Another one of the audio logs is down this path here. That we can run down this just to save a little time, even though I'm not exactly being economic with that. But yeah, there's a log here.
These hearts were woven of human joys and cares, washed marvelously with sorrow, swift to mirth. The years had given them kindness. Dawn was theirs, and sunset, and the colors of the earth. These had seen movement and heard music, known slumber and waking, loved, gone proudly friended, felt the quick stir of wonder, sat alone, touched flowers and furs and cheeks. All this is ended. There are waters blown by changing winds to laughter, and lit by the rich skies all day, and after, frost, with a gesture, stays the waves that dance and wandering loveliness. He leaves a white, unbroken glory, a gathered radiance, a width, a shining peace under the night. Rupert Brooke, 1914.
Here's our next audio log in the greenhouse, which is a concept that does exist, and I absolutely should have seen it coming. You just never put two and two together and refer to this place as a greenhouse. Makes sense. Anyway, here's this.
As scientists, we realize that color is merely a question of the wavelengths of ethereal vibrations. But that does not seem to have dispelled the feeling that eyes which reflect light near wavelength 4800 are a subject for rhapsody, whilst those which reflect wavelength 5300 are left unsung. We have not yet reached the practice of the Laputans who, if they would, for example, praise the beauty of a woman or any other animal, they describe it by rhombs, circles, parallelograms, ellipses, and other geometrical terms. The materialist, who is convinced that all phenomena arise from electrons and quanta and the like, controlled by mathematical formulae, must presumably hold the belief that his wife is a rather elaborate differential equation. But he is probably tactful enough not to obtrude this opinion in domestic life. If this kind of scientific dissection is felt to be inadequate and irrelevant in ordinary personal relationships, it is surely out of place in the most personal relationship of all, that of the human soul to a divine spirit. Arthur Eddington, 1927.
Real talk, the comparison of women to animals is pretty fucking cold, but I guess back in 1927 and even before, because I don't really know where the reference from to Laputans comes from. I assume that they wouldn't have had as much issue with that, but that is really freaking bad nowadays. Also, I think I swore, oh well. I think I have another 2-for-1 coming up. Here's the jungle laser. I guess that's the way the community refers to this place. The jungle. And here is an audio log.
If we were not able or did not desire to look in any new direction, if we did not have a doubt or recognize ignorance, we would not get any new ideas. There would be nothing worth checking because we would know what is true. So what we call scientific knowledge today is a body of statements of varying degrees of certainty. Some of them are most unsure, some of them are nearly sure, but none is absolutely certain. Scientists are used to this. We know that it is consistent to be able to live and not know. Some people say, how can you live without knowing? I do not know what they mean. I always live without knowing. That is easy. How you get to know is what I want to know. This freedom to doubt is an important matter in the sciences, and I believe in other fields. It was born of a struggle. It was a struggle to be permitted to doubt, to be unsure. And I do not want us to forget the importance of the struggle, and by default, to let the thing fall away. I feel a responsibility as a scientist who knows the great value of a satisfactory philosophy of ignorance, and the progress made possible by such a philosophy. Progress which is the fruit of freedom of thought. I feel a responsibility to proclaim the value of this freedom and to teach that doubt is not to be feared, but that it is to be welcomed as the possibility of a new potential for human beings. If you know that you are not sure, you have a chance to improve the situation. I want to demand this freedom for future generations.
Oh,
Richard
he's-
Feynman, 1963.
Oh, Feynman, nice. And let's select the next one. Let's get this next one.
One day I happened to be occupied with the subject of generation of waves by wind. I took down the standard treatise on hydrodynamics, and under that heading I read, if the external forces P prime sub YY, P prime sub XY be given multiples of e to the ikx plus at, where k and a are prescribed, the equations in question determine a and c, and thence, by 9, the value of eta. And so on for
What?
2 pages. At the end, it is made clear that a wind of less than half a mile an hour will leave the surface unruffled. At a mile an hour, the surface is covered with minute corrugations due to capillary waves which decay immediately if the disturbing cause ceases. At 2 miles an hour, the gravity waves appear. As the author modestly concludes, our theoretical investigations give considerable insight into the incipient stages of wave formation. On another occasion, the same subject of generation of waves by wind was in my mind, but this time another book was more appropriate, and I read, "There are waters blown by changing winds to laughter, and lit by the rich skies all day, and after, frost, with a gesture, stays the waves that dance, and wandering loveliness. He leaves a white, unbroken glory, a gathered radiance, a width, a shining peace under the night." The magic words bring back the scene. Again, we feel nature drawing close to us, uniting with us, till we are filled with the gladness of the waves dancing in the sunshine, with the awe of the moonlight on the frozen lake. These were not moments when we fell below ourselves. We did not look back on them and say, "It was disgraceful for a man with 6 sober senses and a scientific understanding to let himself be deluded in that way. I will take Lamb's hydrodynamics with me next time." It is good that there should be such moments for us. Life would be stunted and narrow if we could feel no significance in the world around us beyond that which can be weighed and measured with the tools of the physicist or described by the metrical symbols of the mathematician. Of course, it was an illusion. We can easily expose the rather clumsy trick that was played on us. Ethereal vibrations of various wavelengths, reflected at different angles from the disturbed interface between air and water, reached our eyes, and by photoelectric action caused appropriate stimuli to travel along the optic nerves to a brain center. Here, the mind set to work to weave an impression out of the stimuli. The incoming material was somewhat meager, but the mind is a great storehouse of associations that could be used to clothe the skeleton. Having woven an impression, the mind surveyed all that it had made and decided that it was very good. The critical faculty was lulled. We ceased to analyze and were conscious only of the impression as a whole, the warmth of the air, the scent of the grass, the gentle stir of the breeze, combined with the visual scene in one transcendent impression, around us and within us. Associations emerging from their storehouse grew bolder. Perhaps we recalled the phrase, rippling laughter. Waves, ripples, laughter, gladness. The ideas jostled one another. Quite illogically, we were glad, though what there can possibly be to be glad about in a set of ethereal vibrations no sensible person can explain. A mood of quiet joy suffused the whole impression. The gladness in ourselves was in nature, in the waves, everywhere. That's how it was. It was an illusion. Then why toy with it longer? These airy fancies which the mind, when we do not keep it severely in order, projects into the external world should be of no concern to the earnest seeker after truth. Get back to the solid substance of things, to the material of the water moving under the pressure of the wind and the force of gravitation, in obedience to the laws of hydrodynamics. But the solid substance of things is another illusion. It too is a fancy projected by the mind into the external world. We have chased the solid substance from the continuous liquid to the atom, from the atom to the electron, and there we have lost it. But at least it will be said we have reached something real at the end of the chase, the protons and electrons. Or, if the new quantum theory condemns these images as too concrete and leaves us with no coherent images at all, at least we have symbolic coordinates and momenta and Hamiltonian functions, devoting themselves with single-minded purpose to ensuring that QP minus PQ shall be equal to IH over 2 pi. I have tried to show that by following this course we reach a cyclic scheme which, from its very nature, can only be a partial expression of our environment. It is not reality, but the skeleton of reality. Actuality has been lost in the exigencies of the chase. Having first rejected the mind as a worker of illusion, we have, in the end, to return to the mind and say, here are worlds well and truly built on a basis more secure than your fanciful illusions. But there is nothing to make any one of them an actual world. Please choose one and weave your fanciful images into it. That alone can make it actual. We have torn away the mental fancies to get at the reality beneath, only to find that the reality of that which is beneath is bound up with its potentiality of awakening these fancies. It is because the mind, the weaver of illusion, is also the only guarantor of reality, that reality is always to be sought at the base of illusion. Illusion is to reality as the smoke to the fire. I will not urge that hoary untruth, there is no smoke without fire, but it is reasonable to inquire whether, in the mystical illusions of man, there is not a reflection of an underlying reality. Arthur Eddington, 1927.
Here's the next audio log. You have to solve this puzzle with this disposition so that the windows over there are spread open, and then you can go over here, and here it is. Well, this is playing. I'm gonna check on another possible audio log. I don't know if I did it. I don't know if I got that one or if I didn't, but let's check.
There is nothing in existence but veils hung down. Acts of perception attach themselves only to veils, which leave traces in the owner of the eye that perceives them. Bin Arabi, 1231.
Wow, that was a short one. Damn it. Anyway, let's check. Just want to check this real quick. Because apparently there's one right there. I don't know if I've listened to it already. I think I did. Yeah, I believe I did. It's dimmed out. Well, catch you at the next one then. Here's the next audio log in the middle of the town. You have to go up here where there is the reflective panel. You don't need to touch the reflective panel, but you go over here and whoa!
The concept of a clock enfolds all succession in time. In the concept, the 6th hour is not earlier than the 7th or 8th, although the clock never strikes the hour, save when the concept biddeth. Nicholas of Cusa, 1450.
Here's the next audio log. Bit of a distant walk, but it was. I would have to redo all the puzzles here to get the chance, and I didn't really feel like it. But going in the other way around through the caves would give me the option to get it here. So here it is.
Looked at on the astronomical timescale, humanity is at the very beginning of its existence. A newborn babe, with all the unexplored potentialities of babyhood. And until the last few moments, its interest has been centered absolutely and exclusively on its cradle and feeding bottle. It has just become conscious of the vast world existing outside itself and its cradle. It is learning to focus its eyes on distant objects, and its awakening brain is beginning to wonder in a vague, dreamy way what they are and what purpose they serve. its interest in this external world is not much developed yet, so that the main part of its faculties is still engrossed with the cradle and feeding bottle, but a little corner of its brain is beginning to wonder. James Jeans, 1928.
Neat. And well, we all know that this is the last thing in the game, but that's not it. I actually don't remember how to open that door there. I assume I have to clear these puzzles. Anyway, I'll see you at the next audio log. Turns out the next audio log is right here. Look at that.
In any case, our 3 days old infant cannot be very confident of any interpretation it puts on a universe which it only discovered a minute or two ago. We have said it has 70 years of life before it, but in truth, its expectation of life would seem to be nearer to 70,000 years. It may be puzzled, distressed, and often irritated at the apparent meaninglessness and incomprehensibility of the world to which it has suddenly wakened up. But it is still very young. It might travel half the world over before finding another baby as young and inexperienced as itself. It has before it time enough and to spare in which it may understand everything. Sooner or later, the pieces of the puzzle must begin to fit together. Although, it may reasonably be doubted whether the whole picture can ever be comprehensible to one small and apparently quite insignificant part of the picture. James Jeans, 1928.
That's nice and all. I just don't know how to clear these. Well, I'll be back with the next puzzle, the next audio logs. So here's one of the audio logs that I was inside the cave and I hadn't found yet before. Like right in here.
It's just the new teapot beeping. It boils fast, but that beep bothers me. Moving on?
So, next I want to raise this problem, which is that I think we don't have enough smart representation from materialist atheists, physicalists, anything in that neighborhood of ideas. And I've been trying to do something about that, but it's hard. The problem is that most coherent atheists' creeds are focused on defeating some specific idea of God, or are angry about the historical activities of organized religions, rather than, say, from first principles, making a good case for the impossibility of any concept of God, which would be more like what we're after.
I'm having the same problem. So many justifications of atheism devolve into assertions of the implausibility of Bible stories. Someone like Bertrand Russell, a very advanced thinker, but his commentary on religion all seems to be like Why I Am Not a Christian. Very limited in scope. It is way too small compared to the vision of God and the pieces we're juxtaposing.
Can you repeat that last part? You kind of just dropped out a little bit.
Oh, just that it's a very provincial idea of God that's usually advanced in those arguments. Sometimes even a straw man God. And it doesn't have much in common with the God visualized by Cusa or Spinoza or the great Sufis or even Einstein. Whoever. So it just doesn't play on the same field.
When people are explicitly pushing materialism, they're usually philosophers or writers, not physicists, not people who actually do the frontline work of understanding the physical world. With the heavy hitters in physics, it's very hard. It's hard to find good statements that aren't just arguing against strawmen. And it's strange because in the modern age, a reasonable portion of working physicists are atheists. Not all by any means, but a reasonable portion. But it's hard to get strong and articulate statements from that sector.
Yeah. I mean, the closest you get is somebody like Feynman, where science gives us a great degree of certainty about certain things, but outside those, it's not a good idea to tell ourselves nice stories and speculate. It's just best to realize we don't know yet about the bigger questions, etc. But we have a lot of Feynman already. Paul Dirac was at least a staunch atheist at one point in his life, but I don't know if he has direct statements on record. We'll keep an eye out.
Dirac was far from a materialist, though. He believed the universe is made out of math. That's an oversimplification, of course. He even mentioned God a few times in an Einstein kind of way.
Wow, this is all so crazy because among scientifically educated people, it's the cultural default, right? If you're a scientist or a computer programmer kind of person, atheist materialism is supposed to be the basic belief. If you're not a materialist, you're stupid.
But if we can't find anyone who makes a good case for it, how does that happen?
Well, it's easy to be convinced of the absurdity of stories in common Christianity, Judaism, whatever. So, if that's your picture of spiritual beliefs and you have an aversion to digging too hard into your own worldview, which most of us do, then there you go. Anything that seems religious is goofy Bible stories, and materialism is anti-religious. And it's the general impression that smart people are materialists, and, hey, I want to be smart, so case closed.
Also, there are all these so-called spiritual people who believe basically anything and try to convince everyone.
In addition to goofy Bible stories, did I forget to mention ghost stories, astrologers, spoonbenders, and all kinds of frauds?
It's a ton of noise. It makes it almost impossible for an outsider looking in to see high-quality thought in the world of spirituality. If I can even generalize spirituality to one thing. So it's easy, if you're already leaning toward materialism, to see these flaky spiritual people, extrapolate that to all spiritual people, and say all that stuff is garbage.
That's how it worked for me. For a while.
Okay, but despite all this, there's a large contingent of present-day real scientists who believe in some form of atheist materialism and whose beliefs have been carefully considered. So we need to ensure we respect that viewpoint.
It's
I
so
remember
frustrating.
that. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Carl Sagan has a good piece in Demon Haunted World, where he talks about science as a profound source of spirituality. But he doesn't mean mystical spirituality. He means just pure dedication to truth and the development of a wise perspective on our place in the world. It's nice, and it's a picture of atheism that isn't hostile or contemptuous.
Yeah, I read that, and what you're talking about is a beautiful piece, and I tried to get it, but Sagan's people want too much money.
Can't we just pay more?
No. It would trigger a bunch of most favored nation clauses, and we have to pay everyone a lot more, and we go broke. So, no Sagan for us. It is a shame, since he was such a great thinker, and eloquent, too.
That is such a nice view on not only how you find the material that you're looking for, but also how to accommodate for the modern world necessities such as copyright and stuff like that. That is pretty interesting. Anyway, this puzzle is kicking my ass. I'll come back later. So, there are 2 audios left, and they're both on this, which is affectionately called the Symmetry Island, since the puzzles here are all symmetry based. And they're both on here, the last 2, and one of them is over here. You have to go around the first level of the island, and you get this audio here.
Formerly, you appeared to me, O Lord, as invisible by every creature because you are a hidden, infinite God. Infinity, however, is incomprehensible by every means of comprehending. Later, you appeared to me as visible by all. For a thing exists only as you see it, and it would not actually exist unless it saw you. For your vision confers being, since your vision is your essence. Thus, my God, you are equally invisible and visible. As you are invisible, as the creature is, which exists only insofar as the creature sees you, you are visible. You, therefore, my invisible God, are seen by all, and in all sight you are seen by everyone who sees. You who are invisible, who are both absolute from everything visible and infinitely super exalted, are seen in every visible thing and in every act of vision. Therefore, I must leap across this wall of invisible vision to where you are to be found. But this wall is both everything and nothing. For you, who confront as if you were both all things and nothing at all, dwell inside that high wall which no natural ability can scale by its own power. Nicholas of Cusa, 1453.
Jeez. That's intense. Here's the last one.
One nature, perfect and pervading, circulates in all natures. One reality, all-comprehensive, contains within itself all realities. The one moon reflects itself wherever there is a sheet of water, and all the moons in the waters are embraced within the one moon. The absolute of all the Buddhas enters into my own being, and my own being is found in union with theirs. The inner light is beyond praise and blame. Like space, it knows no boundaries. Yet it is even here, within us, ever retaining its serenity and fullness. It is only when you hunt for it that you lose it. You cannot take hold of it, but equally you cannot get rid of it. And while you can do neither, it goes on, its own way. You remain silent, and it speaks. You speak, and it is dumb. The great gate of charity is wide open, with no obstacles before it. Yongcha Tashi, circa 700.
Deep. Anyway, that's the last audio log, so I presume only puzzles are left, of which there are 15, and I spotted at least 10 inside the cave. I may have miscounted, but I think there were at least 10. You will be able to figure it out later if by the video. I think I'm gonna record all of them, like the solution to them at least. But anyway, I'll see you guys after I solve each puzzle, I guess. Alright, so I have good news. I managed to get everything done. 523 puzzles completed, 135 environmental puzzles, and 6 totems opened up. Let me run down through the puzzles that I hadn't done yet, that are now complete. First, there's this one, which unfortunately I ended up looking up how to do this, because it's a symmetry puzzle and the shapes are very different, but in the end the solution is rather elegant. I rather enjoyed it. I had in my head the notion that I would need to combine the four shapes into one big shape, and I just had the wrong idea altogether, so I probably wouldn't have figured it out on my own. Yeah, I think these were already done before. There's these ones, which are not that difficult, but they did have difficult little the divisions in these things. They're basically blocking certain solutions. So there are two L blocks. It's not much of an L, it's more like a corner block. So there are 2 corner blocks. You have to put them in together in the same thing, and the path cannot go the full way in some positions, so you have to find 5 different solutions for the same puzzle. And in some cases it was fairly quick and simple, but in some cases it took me a while. Like this one is pretty inventive, I thought. This one, there's a little stairway where you put the L block, one of the blocks here and the other there. What else? This one, I actually thought it was really funny. The way, like, I had completed this one before, the first one in this sequence, and the second one is more or less the same with a different path block, and you can literally do the same shape. You just have to go the other way around, more or less, and then it gets a little different. And you have to figure out a way to fit all the shapes in, considering you cannot use any of these connections here. And I thought there were some really cool, like this one had me stumped for a good while until I figured out you could use the block here to connect everything. And in here you would be hard pressed to be like to put all the shapes together in one place, but you don't actually have to. You just separate this one and then use those two together because they're already like at the end, so it's fine. And what else? I had completed this one. I think I had completed all the other ones in here already. So the other two puzzles that I completed were these two. This one is a bit tricky because the lighting, the coloring thing is confusing, but basically you can tell more or less the way the color shifts, how each block looks against a different background. And you can tell that this strip of blocks here is a certain color, it's yellow, and this strip of blocks here is light blue. So you can more or less tell, like, for example, this one looks purple against a purplish background. You can more or less see the sequence, like these blocks are all the same. And these blocks that look darker blue, they will look blue against yellow. They will look closer to pink or maybe orange against the blue background. So you can more or less separate them like that, and that works. And the other puzzle I had completed around here was this one, which also had me stumped for a good while. But then I figured out that you can use the L block to link to the dot there, and the dot will fill in for the L block's dot space. And the other two things are more or less supposed to make a 3x2 block rectangle. But I had 508 puzzles when I started recording again, and with these puzzles there are 12 puzzles in total, so I would be at 520. However, we were supposed to get a 523, so had to figure out what was missing. To be honest with you, I think I'm pretty sure. Oh, god damn it! I'm pretty sure one of the puzzles that was missing, and I don't know why this counts, but I'm pretty sure one of the puzzles that was missing from that list, from that number, it was actually this one. Either that or the one on the bottom there. One of these that when you complete the puzzle, just calls the elevator to where you are, or sends it over if you complete it in the other direction. And now that's one more, so that's 521, and we were missing one more. The last one was, where's the way to the village? The last two puzzles are in the town. And I had more or less forgotten about them because they were hard and I didn't figure them out for a good while. No, I'm not supposed to go here. Here, that's where I'm supposed to go. They had me stumped for a good while. It's not where I was supposed to go. God damn it. This place has me stumped for a good while. Yeah, this place had me stumped for a good while. I mean, what the hell? How do I get anywhere here? You know, let's just get out here and walk to the town. I don't care. Figured out a way to go there. Like, easier because I'm completely lost inside the cave. Anyway, There were 2 puzzles there that I had never gone back to. Where I saw them, I tried my hand at them for a bit, and I was like, this is not worth. This is really difficult. I couldn't figure them out at the time. And oh god, what's with the stutters? Jeez. They were inside this little building here. These shoe puzzles. You have to mess around with the lights. There are 3 different colors you can set this area to, and you have to mess around with them to figure out what to classify these blocks, these icons into. You can't really figure out what color each icon is, but you can put them in groups, and with the groups you can figure out, you can separate them properly and beat the puzzle, even if you don't have the precise color for each of them. For example, I'm pretty sure this block here, this icon here, is paired with this one here, so have to put these 2 in the same route, more or less. And the same happens here. There are 7 different colors total, so I have to separate these blocks like this so that the puzzle is happy and satisfied. And this was the last puzzle I completed in the game, and that puts me at 100%. So this is it for The Witness. I leave you with the juggler, and I hope everyone enjoyed getting caught up with me on The Witness and this amazing game. And I would honestly really like it if there were more. I know there are several different puzzle type games like this, like Talos Principle and Stanley Parable. I don't know if they're comparable to this, but all I know is The Witness is a very, very good, I mean, maybe one of the best puzzle games out there, just because it is so well designed, and it's so open-ended with how much you can interpret of the world and your current position, and stuff you can figure out. And I honestly really want to do a live stream of it someday, like from the start. I don't know to which point, but I really would enjoy that. If I have people to watch, I could really enjoy get behind doing something like that. But yeah, other than that, this is it for The Witcher. This is it for The Witness, and this is it for me. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. This has been Sauce, and I hope to see you next time on whatever video game series I record next. And bye!